Hello, Sooner Nation. OU Insider subscribers, Coach Brian Clinton's enthusiasts of his hats, of his many hats, literally and metaphorically. People who are excited that Love's Field, it's here. It's opening this weekend in like 48 hours as we record this pod. This is the podcast for you. This is another episode of the Oklahoma Drill, fueled by OU Insider and the Rivals Network. My name is Jesse Crittenden. I am joined, as always, by the hat expert, Brian Clinton. Brian, I've seen that hat before. I got to say, I like that hat. That's a good hat.
Good old classic Black Rifle coffee hat. It's a good one.
It's a good hat. Brian, I think because this is such a momentous week for OU softball, for OU athletics in general, I think this is an episode to just talk about softball and how big this weekend is, what it means to the community, what it means to this program. You and I are going to be in attendance at Love's Field this weekend. It is for the OU tournament. So this is not only OU's first home games of the season, but of course they're playing in a brand new stadium that has been years in the making, that I think is just, it's hard to put into words exactly what it means. But I think from a broad perspective, Brian, just to start, does it feel a little surreal that Love's Field is here? It's going to be the nicest softball facility of any program in the country. Is it surreal that it's finally here?
Sure. Yeah, it's I don't want to call it overdue, but for what Patty Gasso has built Oklahoma into, it just feels like it's finally here. They finally have a palace that is, on par with what Patty's built in Norman. This is the premier college softball program in the country. They're on a historical run, and it's almost, I would almost say there's almost some fatigue to how incredible Oklahoma has been on the softball field over the last several years. People, I think people get so sick of hearing how good they are that it almost becomes monotonous to talk about. But this program has really just blown away any expectations that you could have had, just in what they have done and how they've done it. They've won the right way, and they've done things with integrity. Whether or not that, I think you see the Danny Cannells of the world, come after them about how they win, but the teamwork and the way that these players have become really like role models and superheroes to young girls all over the country that want to grow up and play softball and be like, Kinsey Hansen, be like Jocelyn Allo, be like Grace Lyons, and you see Jada Coleman and Tiari Jennings becoming those role models. It's awesome, and they finally have the chance to play in the greatest softball stadium in the country, as you said. And so it's awesome. I'm so excited that it's sold out. 4,200 has 4,200 fans. We're used to seeing less than 2,000. 1,300 and something was the official of Marita Hines, right? 1,300 and change, and now you're talking about over 4,000 people showing up for a softball game. It's incredible, and I think it's well deserved. And I'm excited. I think that there's plenty of reason for everybody involved with Oklahoma softball to be a little bit emotional about this and to have lots of feelings towards this. It's very cool.
Patty Gasso referred to it yesterday as a mansion. She said it's time to move into the mansion. It was really cool talking to Patty yesterday because it was one of those things. Everybody was going to ask questions about Love's Field, and you could see there was no shooting down the excitement. There was no, hey, this is great, but we still got to win games. No, it was pretty cool to see her open up just about how meaningful this all is. She didn't do coach speak. She didn't do, oh, we're just focused on winning games. She was like, no, this is incredible. And I asked her specifically, yeah, you've still got to go win games, but do you kind of expect players, especially the veterans who have been around, for years, do you kind of expect them to kind of take it all in? And she was like, I'm telling them to. She said, we're going to take it slow. We're going to appreciate how meaningful all of this is. And it's pretty cool. From a personal perspective, I'm pretty excited. I know you and I are both going to be there, which is really cool. You're going to be doing some video for us that people can check out here at this YouTube channel and over at ouinsider.com. I'm going to be not only writing about the games, I'm going to see if I can talk to some fans there. But personally, there's going to be a press box. Brian, press box. There's going to be like media seating, like actual media seating where media go and they sit and they work. Because as much as I love Marita Hines, and I've talked about this before, but sitting outside as a media person was, again, not that I'm not saying I'm privileged. Okay. I'm not saying that's not what I'm saying, but it made it difficult to cover those games. It made it difficult without like a proper media setup. And now, and I think that's really cool that they took the time to put some media seating in there. And then, of course, there's going to be an actual, like a real press conference room, real media facilities. But then, look at the rest of it. You mentioned how there's going to be way more seating. I think the seating in general is just going to be better. The grass, the field looks incredible. The big board that's in the shape of the state of Oklahoma it's really cool. It's really cool for anybody that's driven by it. You've seen how cool that is. It is important to note that it's not done. It's not done. And Patty even talked about that yesterday. So they're still working on it. Now they've done enough to get it to where it can be played on and where fans can come in, but it's not done. They're going to keep on working on it for another few months at least. Like the players are going to still be, getting dressed and getting ready at Marita Hines and then coming over to Love's Field, which is pretty interesting, which I think adds to what's going to be, mostly an exciting weekend, but kind of a chaotic one too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be fun. That's going to be interesting. There's also going to be a dedication ceremony at 11 a.m. with Joe Castiglione and with Joe Hurrah as the president. Man, Brian, I think it's gonna be one of those things that for you and I as media people, we still got jobs to do, right? You're gonna do video, I'm gonna be writing, but just like Patty said, the players are gonna be taking it all in. I don't know about you, but there's gonna be a part of me that starting at the dedication ceremony all through the evening, I'm just gonna be kind of looking around and taking in the atmosphere. I don't know about you, but that might be kind of the coolest part of the weekend for me.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where I think I'm gonna struggle keeping my eye in the camera, if that makes sense. Like I'm gonna struggle keeping things in frame because, I mean, yeah, it's just so cool. I mean, the as you said, the big board's awesome, but like I just can't wait to feel the atmosphere, like the excitement of playing the first games in that stadium, and it's gonna be really really cool. I'm kind of this may sound weird, but I'm kind of the smell of the new grass and the new dirt and like the brand new smell of the stadium, like those things are what and will bring me back in 15 years whenever I'm thinking about it and being there, like all of those things that you take in for an event or for a moment like that. Yeah, just soak it all in because it's really cool, and you only have realistically you only have probably one or two opportunities like this in a lifetime. To open up a new stadium, a new softball stadium. It's going to be a long time before a new official stadium, if ever a new official stadium happens for Oklahoma softball. So yeah, it's cool, and yeah, I'll have a hard time not looking around and staying focused.
No, and I've got to say, man, I think it's just one of those things like you don't want to make it, I don't want to make it hyperbole. I don't want to talk about this is the most amazing thing that's ever happened, but I just to see what, and this is kind of what Patty talked about yesterday, to see not only where the program has grown, dating back to the 90s when they were playing
Mm,
at Reeves Park and it not at something that wasn't even really a facility, not
mhm.
really. I just to see what not only the program has become, but what the sport has become. And I
Yes.
think it's obviously what it's done to open doors for women in sports is really cool. What it's done to bring this sport to a national level and it's continuing to grow. Obviously, all of that is so cool. But I think it's really started to kind of transcend the barriers that exist, not only or like the unnecessary barriers that exist in not only getting access to women's sports, but also redefining what women's sports are and the way they're perceived. Because you
Mhm.
were even, you were talking about how cool it is that young girls growing up can have real role models and like something that's really accessible in what this team does to interact with fans and with young girls. And now softball is becoming a bigger opportunity for girls growing up. But man, I think one of the cool things is it's just become a sport. Like it's transcending some sort of that unnecessary barrier of labeling it a women's sport. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like
Yes.
it's kind of just becoming, it's just a sport, and that's where it should be. That's where all women's sports should be. But it's leading the charge and taking away that women's sports that unfortunate and unnecessary barrier that's been there for a long time. And now women's sports are finally being seen as equal and in some and just exciting as a sport. And you know what I'm saying? I'm
Yes,
getting
I do.
long winded.
Well, it's there's always been the feeling or the sentiment that I mean, women's or WNBA and NBA is like typically the comparison there, like the difference in crowd and attendance and how well those things do, or how what the differences are as far as how those things those two entities perform in television ratings and things like that. But softball, as you just said, it kind of transcends that. And as a dad to a young girl that already is excited whenever softball comes on TV. I mean, she's only 2 years old and she's excited to sit and watch TV with dad. So it's really cool. It's really awesome to sit down and watch softball with her and know that these are girls that one day she's going to talk about sitting and watching with dad and eventually probably play on her own. And so it's very cool and very there's some sentiment to that. It's awesome to see just how far the game has grown. And as you said, in the 90s, I mean, uniforms for softball teams, I mean, they were playing in like early early 2000s basketball shorts, like shorts down that were almost down to your ankles, and there really wasn't like this specialized um there, softball wasn't a specialized sport. I mean, it was just like the equal or like the women's version of baseball, and it's totally not that anymore. I mean, I would say softball at the collegiate level has surpassed baseball at the collegiate level. It's more exciting. You have the smaller infield creates closer plays. I mean, it's just a fantastic product, and I mean, there's a reason we continue to see all of these records be broken, not just by Oklahoma, but for the other programs around the country. You're seeing like this level of athleticism with the women's side of sports just continue to ascend and get better and better. And softball's really leading the charge in that. And so I think it's really awesome that Oklahoma is fortunate enough to have had Patty Gasso help them literally build this thing from ground zero up to what it is now, and be one of the leaders for that movement for softball to take the lead as one of the greatest women's sports there is out there.
Well, that's kind of what she talked about yesterday. She was like, I'm thinking about the alumni who aren't getting this opportunity to play on this field. But the first thing she said was, I'm thinking about the 2000 national championship team
Mm,
and just
yep.
all the players that came that like, I mean, the success has been there for a long time. And obviously OU has won 3 straight national championships, but this program doesn't get to be where it is, and the sport doesn't get to be where it is if it's not for that 2000 team, if it's not for that 2013 team, if it's not for these players that became larger than life icons for the sport, Kalani Ricketts and Lauren Chamberlain and Jocelyn Allo, right? It's so I think that part of it's cool. And she's talked about even just women's sports as a whole. And you look across the landscape. I mean, I'm going to be at OU women's basketball tonight. They're playing for a chance to win another Big 12 regular season title against Texas, number 1 versus number 3. How cool is that going to be? And
Oh,
Jenny Baranczyk there has talked about how it's about growing, women's basketball as a sport. And anybody that's watched this team under Jenny Baranczyk knows how exciting and fun that team is to watch. Think about women's gymnastics and what KJ Kindler has done for
yeah.
that program. So again, it's one of those things like I think I think we're working towards a place where it's just sports and it's just fun. It's not about men's
Yep.
sports and women's sports. It's just sports and it's fun. And these women's programs at OU are doing such a terrific job. And at the top of that list is softball. And so again, it's like this weekend, it's almost hard to put into words what all of it means and all the alumni that are going to be there and all the fans that are going to be there and stuff. It's just there's that big picture aspect to it, but then you zoom in a little bit and you just talk about this year's team, which is already off to I mean, they're a really great start. I mean, they're 14-0. They've won 67 games in a row dating back to last year, which is just someone had to specify. I tweeted after their second to last win at Mary Nutter last weekend. I said wait, after their last win, I said 66 wins, and somebody had to specify that it was 67. I was like, I literally can't even keep track of how many games they've in a row they've won. But this is also an opportunity just for this year's team to be in front of fans for the first time. And this year's team looks a little bit different. I mean, there's a lot of recognizable names, Brian, but and a lot of players that have been there for a long time: Jada Coleman, Tiari Jennings, Kenzie Hansen, Riley Boone, Lissa Brito. But there's some newcomers on this team that we've talked about a little bit, but I mean, through 3 tournaments, they continue to ascend, man. And like, I don't even know where you would start, but I mean, think about the freshmen who not only this is their first OU game. I mean, this is not only their first game at Love's Field, like everybody, this is their first OU game in general. They don't even know what it's like to play at Marita Hines. That's pretty crazy. Ella Parker, man, who continues to just be, I mean, Patty said it before the season started, got to have her in the lineup. And through 3 weekends, we've seen exactly why Patty Gasso had so much confidence in her. Not only the 2 home run games she had over the weekend on Sunday, but Brian through 14 games, she started 11 of them. She's batting 412, 13 RBI. She's got 14 hits on the year, 12 runs, slugging percentage of 706. She's got an on-base percentage of 512. That is second on the team behind Cassidy Pickering, another freshman. 2 freshmen lead the team in on-base percentage. I don't know about you, man, but that's part of what I'm excited to watch is these, Cassidy Pickering and Ella Parker for the first time in person to see these 2 freshmen who have kind of taken OU by storm. I mean, Cassidy Pickering leads the team in batting average, leads the
Yep.
team in on base percentage. That's insane. How just impressive have they been for your perspective through the first 3 weeks?
It's absolutely incredible that you have the star-studded lineup that you do for Oklahoma, and we find ourselves talking about the freshmen coming into this week. It's again, and those 2, Pickering and Parker, have been incredible, and it's really promising because you think about, you go back, it proves the point of what Patty Gasso has built in this program. It's not just the stars on the field. It's a program. There's defined success year in and year out, and it hasn't mattered. If you go back, think about, what are what the questions were, what's Oklahoma going to do when Jocelyn Allo leaves? Well, they figured it out. Well, now it's what's Oklahoma going to do with Jordy Ball gone? Well, they're figuring it out. Their pitching staff's been incredible. But the really exciting part is there's so much senior talent on this group. We talk about the four all the time, but it's the freshmen that we're talking about. And I think that should be really exciting for softball fans to not just, obviously enjoy this year, enjoy 2024 and that group of seniors headed out the door, enjoy their last run and trying to win four straight. But the young players on this team that are already emerging as difference makers, I think that's really promising because if you look back when Jada Coleman and TRE Jennings were thrust into roles as freshmen and they had the years that they had, it's really hard not to draw that comparison. It's still early. No, don't get me wrong. We haven't even hit conference play yet. But what we've seen from Cassidy Pickering and what we've seen from Ella Parker, it's really promising considering you have that to look back at from the comparisons to TRE and Jada. So yeah, it's fun. It's really exciting, and I also think Riley Ludlam is another
Yeah.
one that we, I don't want to say overlook, but that's just another huge addition to an already incredible team. So yeah, this team has all the makings of being something very special. Uh, the offensive fireworks maybe haven't been at the same level that they have been in previous years, but look, they're still very, very good offense. I mean, what are we're looking at?
They're 10th in scoring,
Yeah, exactly.
they were like 26th going into last weekend, which last weekend the bats finally came alive a little bit.
Yes.
Yep. But to your point, I mean, they're 10th in scoring. I think they're 13th in batting average. There's still room for this team to grow.
Yep.
Right. I think that's kind of where you were getting at.
This episode of the Oklahoma Drill Podcast is brought to you by Joy Mode. Guys, Joy Mode makes all natural and science-backed supplements dedicated to helping men perform better across their core functions. It is an alternative to the blue pill, but its worth doesn't start and stop there. It also supports cardiovascular health, athletic performance, and healthy blood pressure. It comes in a palm-sized package just like a pre-workout mix. All you have to do is mix it into 6 to 8 ounces of water, wait 45 minutes, and watch the magic unfold. Here are the game changers. All ingredients have been assessed in peer-reviewed journals, and all ingredients have been studied and researched in humans. You'll never go back to prescription or over-the-counter drugs after trying Joy Mode, which contains clinically supported doses of arginine nitrate, L-citrulline, Panax ginseng, and vitamin C. Want to see your confidence skyrocket? Go to usejoymode.com for 20% off with code INSIDER. That's 20% off and free shipping with code INSIDER at usejoymode.com. Joy Mode, ingredients with integrity.
Yes, no, exactly. It's they're still elite in the circle. They're still elite defensively, and the way that these bats, when the bats finally heat up, and they started to heat up last week. I think, that, oh man, here we go. Oklahoma's coming again. Like I think that's well on its way, and it's really cool because again, freshmen are playing such a big role in that. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Those two are going to be great for a long time.
Well, you mentioned, I mean, the hitting has been really good. It was better last weekend. I think there's still another level they can go. The most impressive part of this team through 3 weeks has been its pitching staff. And Patty Gasso even said that yesterday. Brian, I was going through the stats and I was just in shock. So, I mean, they've got all 6 of their pitchers have pitched at least 5 innings. 4 of them have pitched 14 or more. Nobody is allowing a batting average of higher than 196. Nobody. Which is just insane to think about. Nobody has an ERA of higher than 1.0 or 1.43, and the highest in ERA is Kirsten Deal, who really struggled that first weekend and has since been really, really good. Over the weekend, she pitched the first full game for first 7-inning game of any OU pitcher this weekend. She went the full 7, only gave up 1 hit, no runs. Kirsten Dills looked really good the last 2 weekends. But the person I kind of want to talk about briefly is Carly Keeney, who has an ERA of 0. She hasn't given up a run in 17 innings. Hasn't given up a run. Has only given up 11 hits, 8 strikeouts. And the part of the reason why I talk about it is I think we're still trying to figure out what this rotation is, and Nicole Main and Kelly Maxwell have been great, but who are seeing the opportunities behind them.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be really fun, not only to see her continue to play. I thought she was really impressive last weekend, but they're playing against Liberty this weekend at the OU tournament, and that is a reunion for Carly Keeney, who played there for several years. I think Carly Keeney's been really impressive, but I also think, again, as impressive as the pitching staff is, it's kind of like the offense. I think there's still room to grow, and I think there's still stuff to figure out about this pitching staff. I think in some ways you could say, I think it would be hard to pinpoint who the most impressive pitcher has been through 3 weeks. I think you have different names, but I don't know. I think we're going to see a lot of pitchers this weekend again, just like we have been. How impressive has Carly Keeney been? And I don't know. Have we gotten any clarity about this pitching staff through 3 weeks, or you think it's still? There's a lot. They're all going to get opportunities. This is still very much a work in progress.
I would definitely say it's going to continue to be a work in progress as far as figuring out the rotation. But it's very valuable to have that many arms and not have to really worry who you throw out there, that you can have success with all of them. And I think that just bodes well for late season matchups against some tougher competition, and it also obviously bodes well for the tournament as well. So Carly Keeney, if we go back to kind of our preseason podcast, that's somebody that I kind of marked down as somebody to watch. And I remember, obviously Kelly Maxwell was the big name in the transfer portal as far as the circle goes, and you had Peyton Monticelli as well. But Carly Keeney was the one for me. I remember watching her against UCLA last year in the tournament, and she was absolutely dominant. Now UCLA has struggled this year to this point, but that UCLA team, I believe they were the 2 seed, if I remember correctly, behind Oklahoma.
A lot of people were expecting them to make it to the finals. Last year,
and they looked very good, and Keeney just dominated them. She looked very good against them, and Liberty had a good staff altogether. It wasn't just Keeney, but she brings another element to a pitching staff that already has great pieces. And when you think about the left right combinations that Patty Gasso can throw at teams now, you've got Kelly Maxwell being the left-hander, you've got Nicole May, Kirsten Deal being a left-hander. Like you have a good rotation of things that you can throw at opposing lineups, and Keeney has been fantastic. The strikeouts, she's got 8 strikeouts, but that's not really, I would even venture to say that's not really her strength. She's just has a very good knack for getting players and getting batters in situations that end up with outs at first base. So she's been great, and I think that she's going to play a major role. The person I kind of want to highlight real quick, Nicole May has always been kind of like the pitcher in this group that has kind of worked from the shadows, I guess, in a sense of she's not necessarily always in the spotlight. She was behind Jordy Ball. Before that, she was behind Hope Troutwine, and even before that, she was. I'm drawing a blank on the pitcher before that, but I can see her transfer from Arizona State. No, it's killing me. You'll think of it in a second.
Yeah, I will.
Nicole May she leads the team, 28 strikeouts, and she's got a .980 ERA, a .179 batting average. So she's been fantastic. She leads the team in innings, and she's been really good. And I think that's very impressive considering that first weekend she seemed a little bit shaky. And so I think that she has evolved and has done a good job fitting into the role that she needs to be. But yes, I think as this group continues to find their footing, you've got 4 strong options that you can throw out at any point, and that's without Peyton Monticelli and S.J. Guerin included. So I think once you continue to get those two moving, who both have 0.00 ERAs with 7 innings and 5 innings each, you continue to move those pieces in. This staff's really, really good again.
We were thinking of Giselle Juarez.
Yeah, G Juarez. Golly,
I know.
I can't believe
I know. I'm the same thing. My brain's already kind of mush. It's already been kind of a crazy week, and it's only going to get crazier because not only women's basketball today, but then I mean this weekend's going to be a grind, and then on Saturday I've got OU softball, 2 OU softball games. Then OU men's basketball plays against #1 Houston that night. So I'm looking at like a 12-14 hour day on Saturday, but that is, not complaining. That's part of the fun. It's just going to be chaotic. I do think one thing, it does seem like this lineup is coming more and more into focus than it was after the first couple weekends. Like we kind of know where everyone's going to be for the most part. I think, Cassidy Pickering has kind of taken that right field spot. It looks like she's kind of secured that because I think Patty really early in the season was looking at Ella Parker and Cassidy both as that designated hitter. But now it's clear that OU needs to have both of them in the lineup. Like they both need to be starting. So Cassidy Pickering's taken that right field spot. Ella Parker is the designated hitter in this group. They've both earned it. They both deserve it. The only thing that's still sort of in flux is second base. Through 3 weekends, we're still not really any closer. At Mary Nutter, it was Avery Hodge and Alina Torres flip-flopping, getting the start. But they all got some time there. Quincy Lilio is still getting rotated in there. So if I had to say anything that I'm outside of taking in the moment and how cool everything's going to be about the stadium, I think that's the one thing that I'm looking at is what are they doing at second base? Because we kind of know where everybody else is going to be. It's going to be Sid Sanders at first. It's going to be Brito at third base. It's going to be Tiari Jennings at shortstop. It's going to be Jada Coleman, Riley Boone, and Pickering in the outfield. It's going to be Kinsey Hansen at catcher. Who's playing second? That's still the thing I'm curious about with this team. And I think there's a lot of factors that are going into that. Mm-hmm. And I think part of it is offense, which this team, again, this offense has been great. It hasn't been super elite. If you had to say outside, I mean, just on the field stuff, OU's got, they play 5 games this weekend. So, I mean, if you had to say what you're looking for, what are you looking for this weekend?
Well, as good as Ludlam has been, I want to see if they try and find a way of working her in. Obviously she was brought in to be Kinsey's backup behind the plate, but she's been so good offensively as of late. I think that with a team that's kind of, I don't want to say struggling offensively, but they just haven't reached the level of efficiency that they want to. If they try and work her in somewhere and get her involved. But yeah, second base really is the focus. I think Alina Torres is probably, as offensively right now, she's been a little more consistent than what we've seen from Hodge. But I think again it's a work in progress. And Oklahoma, if I remember correctly, Oklahoma opens up with Iowa State, and then they've got Texas Tech. Texas Tech's been better than some people maybe envision. They're receiving some votes in some polls, but Iowa State really struggled last week. They were swept by Delaware, dropped the game to Lehigh, and also dropped a game to Virginia. So they didn't look great when they took a trip up to Virginia. So they get Iowa State next week. There are still opportunities to work things out here, and then you've got Baylor the weekend of March 22nd. And 2 weeks after that, you've got Texas. So you've got some time before those bigger matchups work out. And this weekend, I think, is a perfect opportunity because, Liberty, Louisiana, Miami, those are not ranked teams. But as you and I discussed before the podcast, those are also good teams. I mean, Miami, Ohio comes in 9-2. Liberty is a team that maybe for somebody outside of softball that's not aware, they may just look over Liberty. Liberty is a fantastic softball program. and is typically right at or right outside the top 25. And then Louisiana is receiving votes, and they've been very good. So that's a team that beat Baylor one time out of three. So I believe actually the last team to hand Baylor a loss. Baylor's won 7 straight since that point. So Louisiana's good. Liberty's good. I think this is going to be good competition for Oklahoma. It's not going to be a weekend that they can sleepwalk through. And I'm excited for this team to just continue building the momentum. That it does seem like last weekend was the next step for them to continue in their quest for another title. So good stuff, and really excited for them.
It's going to be a lot of firsts this weekend. Who's going to hit the first home run? Who's going to get the first strikeout? Who's going to, who are the starters for the first game at Love's Field? You mentioned, I mean, with Riley Ludlam, there's a lot of players that deserve to be in this lineup. So there's a lot of things. I think we're going to see a lot of things this weekend, man. And it starts with the dedication ceremony at 11 a.m. First game is at 2 p.m. against Miami, Ohio. I think all the games this weekend are going to be on ESPN Plus. Expect to see a ton of fans out there. Don't worry. Brian and I are going to have you covered here on the OU Insider YouTube channel. We'll have you covered over at OUinsider.com on all things OU softball this weekend. But there's all kinds of things going on right now. We're getting closer to spring football. OU basketball, OU men's basketball plays number 8 Iowa State tonight at Iowa State. Then they play number 1 Houston in Lloyd Noble Center after all the Love's Field games. So that's going to be a crazy day and a fun day if you're an OU fan. Women's basketball has a chance to win another Big 12 regular season title today. All kinds of things going on. You're not going to want to miss it. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button here at this OU Insider YouTube channel. If you're not a VIP member over at OUinsider.com, make sure to head over there. But until then, anybody else that's ready for a crazy, exciting weekend of softball at Love's Field, we've got you covered here. We'll see you next time.